Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 30th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, November 30th here today. It is the last day of November. Tomorrow starts December, and the clock continues to tick closer and closer and closer to Christmas on December 25th. So we're just about 25 days out from Christmas, and then obviously about a month out from New Year's. And then all that great fun holiday stuff. And then a little shortly after that, you have the NFL playoffs and a lot going on this time of year. The holiday season is always a great time with family and friends and watching sports, and always a fun time of year. I always kind of say, like, it starts in October. Like October, it starts, with all the sports. And in November, you got all the sports. You got Thanksgiving, Christmas, even more sports. Right now, the World Cup going on. Then you got Christmas. Obviously, then you got New Year's, college football, the playoff, the New Year's Six Bowls, and then you got the NFL playoffs shortly after New Year's in January. February, you got the Super Bowl. So it's like that kind of stretch from October through February where you just got a ton of exciting sports on, and then after February, you got March, where it's March Madness. So this really is always a great time of year for sports, and we got a lot to get into today, obviously, as, things continue to ramp up in the MLB offseason and the NFL season as well. We're going to start off today's podcast with getting to Aaron Judge, as some rumors popped out today as to what the Yankees might be giving Judge and might be willing to give to Judge in terms of contract and the offer that they possibly have already made as winter meetings creep closer and closer here. And it seems as if the reports coming out today, Jeff Passan, SNY reporting that there's a good chance Judge, within the next week, is what I think people are starting to say, he possibly signs. So we're going to get into the numbers, get into about what Judge wants, and my continued opinion on the entire situation and why the Yankees need to bring him back and why they need to re-sign him and give him whatever he wants to get him back here, coming off of what was an historic 62 home run season. So we'll get to that. We'll also get to the Giants. We're going to talk a little bit of Giants today. Been talking a ton of Jets. If you want to, listen to some more Jets content, I obviously got my In the Trench with Gang Green podcast that I do on Apple Podcast. So a lot of content coming there as always. We'll have another video up very soon. Vikings week and all that stuff, and obviously any news surrounding the Jets. So today we're going to get a little bit of Giants stuff, and we're going to talk about the Giants and take a look at the NFC playoff picture. So as we get closer and closer, obviously to the end of the year, playoff picture becomes very, very, the center front, really, the front and center of the NFL season, as everybody's trying to look through ways of how to get in, what to win, clinching scenarios, all this stuff. So, and the Giants have a massive game this weekend. I want to get into the game this weekend. If it is a must-win for the New York Giants, we'll go through the remainder of the schedule. We'll look at the NFC playoff picture and how we kind of see it shaking it all out. And do the Giants make the playoffs even with a loss this week? Because if they lose this week, things get definitely a little murky, I guess you can kind of say, if the Giants don't pull it out this week. So we'll see how that all plays out. We'll get into that. And obviously, we'll get to the New York sports update as always. A lot to get to today. Nets on tonight. They'll be back in action. Knicks crushed the Pistons last night. So a good win for Knicks. Good win for the Knicks fans. It was 140 to, it was a bad blow. It was a blowout. Nets will be back home tonight against the Wizards, and the Knicks will be back in action tonight. Second half of a back-to-back after beating the Wizards by 30 last night, 140 to 110. After beating the Pistons, 140 to 110. They'll be back in action tonight. At home at MSG, welcome in Giannis and the Bucks, and the Nets will welcome in the Wizards to Barclays Center as they continue their 7-game homestand tonight, coming off a win against the Magic, and they have an opportunity to go above 500 tonight. The Nets do, and the Knicks have an opportunity to get back to 500 tonight. Nets have an opportunity to get above 500. So, two good games tonight in the NBA for the Nets and the Knicks. And as for the NHL, Rangers are the only hockey team on tonight. 4 games, but in terms of local teams, they'll be in Ottawa up in Canada to play the Senators tonight as they look to snap out of their recent struggles. All right, so with all that being said, this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. So a lot of stuff been going on. Obviously, a lot of rumors in the MLB offseason so far. That's the one issue with the MLB offseason, and that's the one issue is like, obviously NHL, NBA, and NFL with all the salary cap and all that stuff. It happens so quick. The season, it happens so quick when free agency starts. Like that first day free agency, boom! All of these teams, go after these players. Players are off the board. MLB, it is a long MLB offseason with a lot of rumors and a lot of There's some minor moves here and there. Obviously, Jose Abreu, signed with the Astros. I have a Bubbs Talking Baseball podcast that I do as well on Apple Podcasts. As you all know, I've mentioned it a lot. If you're interested in checking that out, I'll probably have a video up either today or tomorrow talking about the Jose Abreu signing, talking a little about Judge, a little bit about DeGrom. So all of these different, obviously guys coming into this. But with Abreu signing again with the Astros a couple days ago, making it official yesterday, you hope that things start to ramp up. We're starting to see the rumors kind of ramp up a little bit where it's beginning to get into numbers. It's beginning to, teams are beginning to kind of dwindle down here. And with the New York Yankees, we've all kind of known it's mainly a two-team race. Obviously, it's the San Francisco Giants and it's the New York Yankees battling for Aaron Judge. And at the start of this all, we've all been kind of saying, the possibility of Judge going to San Francisco, how bad that would be for the Yankees, and especially if it's because the Giants outbid for Aaron Judge. And at the beginning of this entire offseason, we've all been saying Judge has to come back as a New York Yankee unless he goes to San Francisco because he just wants to go back home, wants to go back to California. That should be the only reason why Aaron Judge goes back and is not a New York Yankee next season is because he wanted to go back to San Francisco and wanted to go back home. That should be the only reason why. And obviously, he had a meeting with the Giants. Sources say it went pretty well. Excuse me. Sources say it went pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But a report came out today surrounding Aaron Judge. Jeff Passan from ESPN reported. Obviously, does a great job over there. So the rumors say that the Yankees have offered Aaron Judge 8 years, $300 million. They have an offer on the table for Aaron Judge of around 8 years and $300 million, and this is according to ESPN's Jeff Passan. And we've all been kind of saying around $40 million a year. So that would be around $320, 8 years, something around that range. He's obvious, something around that range of, he wants $40 million a year. And obviously, we've all said kind of that the Yankees need to do whatever it takes. So obviously starting at $300 million, do the Yankees sit at that? He's obviously 30 years old. So 8-year deal would take him up to 38 years old. He'll be obviously 31 in April. So technically, if you want to say like 39, it'll be a 39-year-old season will be the final year on that deal because he turns, 31 obviously in April when the season and all that stuff starts. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But look, the bottom line is this, right? The Yankees have to bring back Aaron Judge. They have to. I mean, and again, the only way the New York Yankees should not have Aaron Judge on the roster next season, come opening day, and Aaron Judge, if he is on another team and it's the Giants, the only reason Aaron Judge should be on the other side, should be on the third base side of the dugout on opening day, because that's who the Yankees play. They play the Giants, which I have a feeling the MLB purposely set up with the possibility of Judge going to San Francisco and would have that meeting against the Yankees opening weekend, is if he truly wants to just go back home and go back to California for the final, 7, 8, 9 years of his career. That's the only reason why. And it should not be because the Yankees got outbid. The Yankees need to go all in on a guy who hit 62 home runs last year. And there's a lot of people out there that could say, oh, he's never going to do that again. Well, yeah, he might not ever do that again, and nobody else might not ever do it again. So you're not, again, people are saying, oh, don't bring him back. Some people are saying, don't bring him back or don't give him all that money. He's not going to hit 62 home runs again. Well, yeah, 62 home runs is nearly, was many thought it was unbreakable, especially after the steroid era. To see a clean record like that is so rare. Now, if he goes out and gives you 45 home runs, bats .310, cranks in 120 ribbies, and has an OPS of 1.100, those are great numbers. Those are very good numbers. You're right. So you're not, and again, plays 150, 155 games. That's exactly what you need out of him. And that's what you're going to get out of him. He's been healthy much more recently. Obviously, the past 2 seasons, he's been the healthiest, 148 games in 2021. And the only reason he missed a couple games was because he was in COVID protocol. So obviously, that was something that year that he had to deal with. That wasn't even an injury. It was just the fact that he came down with COVID and was in protocol. And in this year, he played 157 games. He missed 5 games this year. So, and he hasn't played 150-plus games since 2017 season, which was obviously his big rookie campaign when he won the home run derby, knocked in 52 homers, and all that great stuff. You got to pay Judge. So $300 million, where we're at with the Yankees and where we're at with Brian Cashman in the front office, $300 million, 8 years, is all right. It's a decent starting point if that is the offer that they legitimately give to him. If you can get him for 8 years, $300 million, that's great. You know, that's obviously great. It's about $37.5 million a year. He wants 40. So if he wants $40 million a year, that's what people think in the range he's going to get, $40 million a year. Anything more, I think more than 40. I don't think you'll see 40 or less. I think you'll see 40 or more. You might have to go up to 320. But $300 million a year for 8 years. $300 million a year for 8 years takes him up until he's 38. It's a solid starting offer for the Yankees. But again, you just don't want to get outbid. The last thing you want is for the Yankees to put an offer on the table, him decline it, San Francisco come in with a big like $340 million 8-year deal, and him take that, and you get outbid. That should not be the case. That's not how the New York Yankees are run. That's how they've never been run that way. And if that happens, that's going to be embarrassing. And if that happens, you gotta whatever you gotta do. Whatever that again. This is what we all. Again, I'll repeat myself. I've said it twice already. Judge has to be a Yankee next year unless he just truly wants to go back home. If he just wants to go back home, it is what it is. It is what it is. If he wants to just go back home, that happens. It happens with players, right? But if it's because you get outbid, that would be terrible. So $300 million, if that's the offer, that's okay for now. But be ready to adjust that. Because the San Francisco Giants, once the winter meetings start, are going to be all over him. Are going to be giving him anything he wants. Because it seems like that's where they're headed. So it's an interesting situation. But you got to bring Judge back. After hitting 62 home runs, to let him just walk in free agency. I mean, we've seen what this team is when Aaron Judge is either struggling or out. When he's out of the lineup or he's either struggling, you saw what this team is. He struggled in the postseason. What did the Yankees do? They got swept by the Houston Astros in embarrassing fashion. Didn't even put up a fight. The least they could have done was at least been competitive, won a game or two, got it to a fifth or sixth game. They couldn't do that. So Judge is so crucial to this lineup. You got to bring him back. We've said it for the longest time now. $300 million for 8 years isn't a bad start, but if he wants $40 million a year, give him $320 and give him a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, he's got to be back with the New York Yankees if he truly wants to be here. And if he doesn't want to, if he's just looking for the most money, he's got to be back with the New York Yankees. If he wants to go home, well, it is what it is. You can't compete with that. It happens. It is what it is. I mean, that's Shohei Ohtani. A couple players, couple players that you could throw in there. Shohei, he obviously from Japan wanted to go, as much as the Yankees were involved and some other teams were involved, he wanted to go out to California because it's obviously closer to, Japan. Now, it's not very close, but it's closer than having to go all the way across country, New Jersey, or, New York, rather, all the way out to Japan, right? It's a lot closer. California to Japan is a lot closer. That's why he chose there. Yankees couldn't do anything about that. He just decided to go there. JT Realmuto a couple years ago, another example, where he obviously wanted to go to Philly, and the Phillies gave him a ton of money. Yankees were in on it, and at the end of the day, though, he wanted to go to the Phillies. No matter how much money the Yankees gave him, he wasn't going to the Yankees. He wanted to go to Philly. He wanted to resign. He wanted to go there. He likes it there. Family was there. All that stuff. So that happens. It is what it is, right? Like, you couldn't control that. That was just how it played out. So this is a similar situation where, look, if he wants to go to San Francisco, he wants to be back home, he wants to go back home, it is what it is. But at the end, that should be the only reason why he goes to San Francisco. It should not be because he gets out, because the Yankees get outbid. So we'll see where this offer goes. We're hearing rumors that things are going to start to kind of ramp up here, but the Yankees got to be ready. I mean, the Yankees got to be ready. this is kind of where it starts. Once you hit December winter meetings, this is where it all kind of starts to come together. Like, all right, no more messing around. Put offers out there. Give him whatever he wants. He's coming off an historic season, and the Yankees are nothing without Aaron Judge in that lineup. That's just the bottom line. They are nothing without him. When Aaron Judge isn't playing well or Aaron Judge isn't in the lineup, the Yankees are terrible. When Aaron Judge is playing well and he's in the when he's playing well and all that stuff, and even when he's in the lineup, he adds that extra threat. The Yankees are a completely different baseball team. So start off by getting Aaron Judge. That is your first biggest priority. Gotta lock him in, and you get the other moves. And that's another thing too. You gotta gotta speed up with the process here. Give him whatever he wants. Get him back. Bring him back. Put him in right field, obviously. Then you can focus on Benintendi. Then you can focus on the other free agents. Focus on, obviously, other free agents from other teams. And, continue to try to build this roster from where it is now, which is bad, to more competitive and maybe World Series winning. It's going to take a lot of work, but it starts with Judge, and you got to get it done. So we'll see how it all plays out. So we'll see. I just hope that the Yankees and Brian Cashman don't, sit on their hands like they have in the past with other players and, throw a deal out there that's a low deal, and then not like it, and then it's like, all right, and then another team throws a deal out there and they get them. That's not how it works. That's not how the Yankees should be. They've always been known for big spenders. They're a big market team. Got to give him whatever he wants. So we'll see. I don't fully trust Brian Cashman. I really don't. I don't trust him at all. But I don't know. I mean, again, it's tough because I truly don't have a prediction. Like, I don't. I truly do not have a prediction on where Aaron Judge will go. I just don't. Now, a part of me says that the Yankees are going to bring him back. A part of me says that he likes it here and, like, he's going to come back. And then there's that part of me where it's like, San Francisco, his hometown. This is his last big contract. Obviously, 30 years old. He's in a unique situation. That's another thing too. He's gonna want whatever he wants. He's gonna want a ton because he's in a unique situation. This is gonna be his only contract. He's getting his only contract at 30 years old. So he's gonna try to get everything out of his want. It's not gonna be one of these big 15-year deals like a Bryce Harper, like a Juan Soto, even like a Garrett Cole, where they gave him a 13-year deal. It's not gonna be one of those because he's getting it at 30 years old. Right, it's a unique situation. The Judge isn't 23 getting this contract. He's 30 years old. So he's going to try to get whatever he can, little years, 7-8 years, but $300 million, $320, $340, $40 million. I think is where $40 million a year is kind of where he wants it. Where the Yankees have him at, that's about $37.5 million a year. So we'll see how it all plays out. It will definitely be interesting, but. Now it's starting to get to the point where it's like, all right, Giants are going to start to make moves, winter meetings, all that stuff. This stuff's going to start to ramp up, and you gotta make your moves. So we'll see how it all unfolds here. All right, so now we move to a little bit of football here. As I mentioned, we're going to get into a little bit of Giants today. Obviously, as the NFL season continues to continues to go on here. I was going to say ramp up, but it's fully in session. As the NFL season continues to go on here, we've obviously got, playoff scenarios all over the place. And I'll tell you this, it is so refreshing to talk about the Jets and the Giants, especially the Jets, obviously being a fan for my entire life. Going through the Gaze era, Bowles days, the end of the Rex days, all the suffering. It is so great. And I know there's questions that, I know the quarterback spot has been all over the place this year with the New York Jets. Obviously, Mike White played really well last week against Chicago. We're all buying in. We all believe in him. We're all rooting for him. We all would love to see him, have a great career, and we'd all love to see him, this magic ride continue. It's so great to talk about this stuff. Like, I can't tell you how awesome it is to talk about the playoffs and talk about the New York Jets and the New York Giants in the postseason, in the conversation, rather than who's going to get the better draft pick. That's the biggest thing. Like, in past years, it's always been, Jets, all right, they're the third overall pick. All right, what do we need to do to get the first pick? Giants are like on, always, slightly better maybe. They'll be like the 7th or 6th overall pick. All right, what do we need to do to get into the top 5? All right, we need to lose this game. We need to lose these games. And we need to tank. Like, all the years of doing that, it was terrible. To now finally be able to look at the playoff picture and say, all right, what do the Jets need to do to get in the postseason? What do the Jets need to do to win the division? What do the Giants need to do to get into the postseason? What games are crucial for the New York Giants? All of these things coming into play, and it's so refreshing after years and years and years of draft talk, even earlier. Years and years and years, draft talk would start in like week 6 because both teams would be like 1-5. They'd be out of it. Their divisions would be good, and forget about it. Although the NFC East is always bad, but not this year. But it's so refreshing to finally talk about playoffs. Not have to look at tankathon. We're talking about playoffs. We're talking about an opportunity for the New York Jets and New York Giants to be in the postseason and maybe a playoff game be played at MetLife. How about that? I mean, I would love a New York Jets home playoff game. And the way they do that is if they win the division, which is very possible. This week's a big week. If they win the division, you got a home playoff game. How does that sound? So it's a great time of year. We're going to get more into the Giants today, Giants side of it, because obviously we've talked about Jets a lot. I might do kind of a Jets type video like this on my Jets podcast that I do. Maybe breaking down some of the scenarios. Kind of what the Jets need to do. We all kind of know what the Jets are. We all kind of know what they need to do. We also know what the Giants need to do. But the Giants are in a little bit of an interesting situation because they've actually been slumping recently. And obviously the Jets, with them, they've got two situations. They can win the division. They can still make the playoffs. Like they're kind of they've got a lot of things going on. With the Giants, their only real hope is the playoffs. Getting into the playoffs. They're not going to win a division. Eagles are 10-1. Like the Giants they're not going to win a division, right? I think the Eagles got that division locked up. Maybe the Cowboys sneak in late and make it interesting, but the rate we're going, the Eagles are just. I mean, you look at the Eagles' schedule. They have the Bears and the Saints left. So those are two very winnable games. You win those, you're at 12 wins. You have the Titans coming up, which isn't going to be easy, but I think just the fact that I think they'll probably win that game just because of their offense. So that's another win. Then you obviously got the Giants twice, which is tough, really tough for the Giants. Those are two winnable games. Cowboys going to be tough. So the Eagles I could see winning 13, 14 games. Are the Cowboys going to be able to do that? Well, they'll have to go on an insane win streak. So I think that the Eagles are in a really good spot in terms of winning the division. Now, the Vikings are right behind them in terms of best record in the NFC, overall number 1 seed, clinching that first round bye. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. But with the Giants right now, they currently stand as a 6th spot in the NFC. So this is how the NFC currently looks. Eagles number 1 seed, 10-1. Vikings number 2 seed, 9-2. Niners 3 seed, 7-4. Bucks 4 seed, 5-6. So the Bucks, it's crazy to say this, but if the Bucks lose this week and the Bucks play the Saints and the Falcons win this week, there is a situation where, and the Falcons play the Steelers this week, where the Falcons, who beat the Bucks, or I apologize, they lost to the Bucks, would be 5-7, and so would the Bucks, and they would be in contention to win the division. So that NFC North division title winner, or NFC South rather, is extremely, extremely weak. Whoever comes out of that division, it's a weak division. It might be a 9-8 team. It might be an 8-9 team. That's where we currently stand. Then your 5, 6, 7, your other seeds are Dallas, Giants, Washington. 4 NFC East teams, 3 of them, Dallas, Giants, Washington. All of them are obviously in. So if the playoffs were to start right now, Washington would be on the road in Minnesota, Giants would be on the road in San Francisco, and the Cowboys would be on the road in Tampa Bay. So that would be an interesting round. Giants, San Francisco, Washington, Minnesota, and the Cowboys, Tampa Bay. A little Dak Brady action back, going back to week 1. So that's how it would play out right now. But obviously the Giants 5-4, Washington 7-5, or Giants 7-4 rather, Washington 7-5. You have Seattle at 6-5, and then you have the Falcons at 5-7 on the outside looking in. Now they really won't impact the Giants. The only way the Falcons get in, the only way I believe the Falcons get in is if they win a division in the NFC South, which is still possible. It's still a division that's wide open. They are a win away this week. Who they play Pittsburgh, and if the Bucks find a way to lose this week, they're both 5-7. Boom, Bucks have the tiebreaker, but boom. The Falcons are a 2-game win streak away and a Bucs 2-game losing streak away from having that division, all to themselves and being the leader of it. So that's kind of interesting. Then you have the Lions, who if they would have won last week, they would have been 5-6. They would have made things a lot more interesting than the Packers and so on and so forth. The rest of the NFC is basically over. So here's the deal with the Giants, right? They obviously got off to a great start this year. They're not incredibly talented. They're dealing with some injuries. This week against Washington is massive. It's massive because you have a Washington team that comes in hot, and the Giants their schedule the rest of the way is brutal. They get Washington, Eagles, Washington, Vikings, Colts, Eagles. That's your remaining schedule. So you go through that schedule. You have the Eagles, who most likely probably lose, I don't know, you probably lose both those games. Okay, most likely. Maybe final week of the season, if they're like 14-2 or something, and they got the division all locked up, maybe they bench their starters to give them a rest, although they would have the first round bye, so do they go to the whole 2-week thing? And maybe you get lucky there and you don't play Jalen Hurts, you play their backups, and you win that game. Maybe. But as of right now, you're playing 2 full-strength Eagle teams. Those are probably 2 losses. So that would put you at 7-6. Then you have the Vikings, probably a loss, 7-7. Colts, who are an interesting team, but I'm convinced Jeff Saturday doesn't know what a timeout is. So I'm going to go there. You probably win that game. That'd be your 8th win. It's going to come down to these 2 games against Washington. You got to find a way, in my opinion, to sweep Washington. I don't know if 9 wins is going to be good enough for the New York Giants to get to the playoffs. Because remember, they are right now 7 wins. They got 6 games left. They'd have to go 2-4 in their final 6 games. And again, Seattle's right behind them, and Seattle's 6-5. And if you look at Seattle's schedule, they got the Rams twice, who are terrible. You got the Panthers, who are all right. But then you have the Niners, Chiefs, Giants, who are obviously tough. But the Seahawks have got 3 very winnable games. If you find a way to get to that 9-8 mark, Seahawks have the tiebreaker over you. Washington's obviously in. 7th and final wild card is most likely Seattle. So that's what makes those 2 Washington games and that Colts game so important. Because the way I look at Seattle's schedule, I look at it as they've got 3 very easy games. I shouldn't say very easy. No game in the NFL is super easy. But they've got 3 very winnable games, right? And 2 of those 3 are home. So those are 3 wins right there. You're probably 9-5. And then you got the Niners, Chiefs, and Jets. The Seahawks are a good team. I think the Seahawks are better than the Giants. So maybe they pull one of those games out and they get to a 10th win. So I don't know, right? It's tough, really tough to say right now. This game against Washington is so important this weekend. Because if you lose this game this weekend against Washington, you're on the outside looking in the playoffs. You are. Because Seattle, most likely, they beat the Rams this week. Let's just say they do that. They'd be 7-5. Giants 7-5. Obviously, Seattle has the tiebreaker over them. Giants are on the outside looking in on the 8 seed. And then the Giants next week got to play against the Eagles. And a week after that, got to play against Washington again. So, and then confidence-wise, it could just really spiral. This week is the biggest game the Giants have played in a very long time. If you can win this game, 3 straight losses is always tough, especially for a locker room. But if you can win this game, find a way to weather the storm a little bit. All right, get to your 8th win. You have a tough matchup next week against Philly, but if you lose that game, it's not the end of the world because you're able to beat Washington. Because again, it's 2 straight losses right now. These 2 straight losses can easily spiral into 4 straight losses, even 5 straight losses if you don't take care of business this weekend. And if you lose 5 straight, it is very hard to make the playoffs losing 5 straight games. Very hard in this league. That's how important this weekend is. So, it's going to be tough. It is. I personally see this. I see the Giants, maybe it's just me, I see the Giants splitting with Washington, beating the Colts, which would put them at 9 wins. Is that enough? Well, they're going to need to hope that a team like Carolina or maybe the Rams, who they get final week of the season, maybe they're healthier. You need to hope that a team like them beats them. Obviously, the 3 tougher games that they've got left, which would be the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Jets, they lose those games. That's what you need to hope as a Giants fan. You squeak in at the 9th spot. Because, again, nobody else is challenging. The Falcons, the only way they're getting in is if they win the NFC South. And the Lions are a complete pipe dream. I mean, the Lions are, the Lions would have to win out, go like these final 6 game win those, get to 10-7, and hope that Seattle falls, hope that the Giants fall off a cliff, and then, get in as a 7 seed. So there's not really much competition. That's the one advantage that the NFC has over the AFC. AFC is deep. The AFC, 8 seed still has a legit chance, the Patriots, and the 9 seed. The NFC, you really can't say that. The 8 seed has a good chance, and that's about it. So, and also, in the AFC, the loser, for a Jets perspective, the loser of the division in the AFC North both have the tiebreakers over them. So even if it gets to a point where if the Ravens fall off a cliff for some reason and really struggle, they still have the tiebreaker. So that's why it's important for the Jets to control their own destiny. But back to the Giants, that's the one lucky part that the Giants have. There's not as much pressure behind them. They've got the Seahawks, and that's it. And obviously Washington as well, but Washington's in right now. So it's a big game this weekend. Big game. They got to find a way to win this weekend. Snap this losing streak, get to your 8th win, and then that takes so much pressure off of you. Because if you can win this week and you get to your 8th win, takes a ton of pressure off the roster because now you got the Colts, a couple weeks, all right, you probably beat them, that's your 9th win. Find a way out of the next 5 games to at least go 2-3. You look at this final schedule and you say, oh, we got to go 500 here. But if you win this weekend and you get to 8 wins, find a way to just win one more game, get to 9, and then maybe you get the Eagles on the last week of the season benching their starters to rest up. And maybe that's your 10th win. But if you lose this weekend, well, now you're going to have to find a way to probably beat a fully healthy Eagles team, beat the Colts, and then, maybe beat the Vikings or somebody like that. Or beat the Commanders on the road, who, if they're still on fire, you'd have to play them again. So that's what's tough. That's why this game is so big for the New York Giants. By far the biggest game they've played in a very long time, currently standing as the 6th seed, 7-4. So we'll see. We will see how it all plays out in the NFC, which should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. So, all right. So that's what I got for the New York Giants and where they currently stand. It's going to be a lot of fun watching the Jets down the stretch here. Obviously, looking out for the Giants as well. Big couple games coming up for both teams, as both teams chasing down those final couple of playoff spots in the AFC and NFC. All right, so to wrap things up today, we're going to get to the New York Sports Update here. Obviously, you got 4 hockey games on tonight. You got the Sabres, Red Wings, Sharks, Maple Leafs, Oilers, Blackhawks, and you got the Rangers, Senators tonight. Rangers, who are currently struggling, 3-game losing streak, 10-9-4. Right now, the 5 seed in the Metropolitan. Through the kind of the 1/4 mark of the NHL season, they are struggling. Need to get back into gear because they are not playing good hockey defensively. Shesterkin struggled the other day. Obviously losing to the Devils. It's tough. It's an ugly start to the year for the Rangers for sure after such a promising season last year. As for the NBA tonight, you got the Cavs, 76ers, Magic, Hawks, Heat, Celtics, Knicks, Bucks back at the Garden. Timberwolves, Grizzlies, Raptors, Pelicans, Spurs, Thunder, Bulls, Suns, Clippers, Jazz, Rockets, Nuggets, Pacers, Kings, and the Lakers, Trailblazers. You also got the Nets, Wizards tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Nets. Look to get over the 500 mark on the season. 2-game win streak. And they look to get to 12-11 with a win tonight over a Wizards team that they actually beat about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. So the Nets look to get over 500 today with a win. All right, so that will do it for the podcast here today. Stay tuned. I'm probably going to have a video up on my Bubbs Talking Baseball podcast on Apple Podcasts. I'll probably have a video up either today or tomorrow on that. So if it's not today, definitely tomorrow. So look out for that. And obviously, we'll always look out for any other videos, any other news as well. And obviously, we'll look forward to doing another podcast. We'll have this up on Friday. Will be a Football Friday podcast. We'll get into all the NFL stuff and get you ready for another exciting weekend ahead for the NFL and obviously college football as well with all the conference championship games. So a lot to look forward to. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.